Dear students, today we shall discuss the critical appreciation of the poem The Second Coming, which is composed by W.B. Yeats. First, we shall discuss about the brief introduction to the poem. As we know that The Second Coming is a poem written by an Irish poet, W.B. Yeats, in 1919, and it first printed in the Dial in November 1920 and afterwards included in his 1921 collection of verses Michael, Roberts and the Dancer. The poem uses Christian imagery regarding the apocalypse and second coming allegorically to describe the atmosphere of post-war Europe. All around there was anarchy. People were fighting for materialistic pursuits, and the persons who were called the best ones in the society had lost all convictions. Around 2000 BC, Christ took birth. The poet seems to think that God will come again on earth, having a lion's body and a man's head. That is, in other words, you can say that is a nursing similar to Vedic god in Hindu mythology. Okay. History moved in 2000 year cycles. This is the opinion of W.B. Yeats. The poem is considered a major work of modernist poetry. The Second Coming was written after the catastrophe of World War I, with communism and fascism on the rise. The title of Chinua Achebe's novel Things Fall Apart 1958 is taken from here. Okay. Now we shall discuss the major themes in the Second Coming. The major theme in the Second Coming is the breakdown of order and the turning of society from potential stability to inevitable instability. His themes are modern in sense that he keeps modern problems in his view and suggests a permanent solution to it, avoiding the romantic despair. There is also violence, theme of violence, lines like blood deemed tight and mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. Both eloquently describe the horrific chaos of war and violence. There is also a theme of prophecy, Christianity, and the Second Coming is also about loss, about change, and about the loss of traditional meaning and values. Cyclicality is also the theme of the poem The Second Coming. Circles and cycles reoccur persistently throughout the poem. Okay. Now, we shall discuss the development of thought in the poem The Second Coming. The poet feels that this universe is a cycle of time, and nearly after 20,000 years, a change comes in the history of the world. Today, mankind has lost old values, administration, and faith. Mankind has met dishonesty. There is a complete disintegration of soul, and we don't listen the voice of our God. Therefore, a change is nearby. God will take rebirth in the shape of wild beast. He will have some figure of lion's body and man's head, wearing a beard. Poet says that we have passed these 20 centuries in darkness and ignorance inside houses made of rocks. They were sleeping without knowing the reality. Now, we shall discuss the term Spiritus Mundi, which is used by W.B. Yeats in the poem The Second Coming. It was a term used by W.B. Yeats to describe the collective soul of the universe containing the memories of all time. From Spiritus Mundi, it's believed came all poets' inspiration. Spiritus Mundi is a Latin term that literally means world spirit. The destruction of the world visualized in the poem. The horror vision of the destruction of the world in the second coming seems infinitely meaningful. Okay. Now, we will discuss the imagery which are used in the poem The Second Coming. The phrase The Second Coming stands as a symbol of its own, gathered from the history and consciousness of humankind back to the beginning of recorded time. The images of a falcon in the first stanza and desert birds in the second stanza represent breakdown of values and societal structure apparent in the Western world post World War I. The falcon cannot hear the falconer because of how far it has flown amidst the chaos, and the desert birds are indignant and cast shadows over an arid landscape. The first image evokes panic and confusion because the falcon becomes lost, just as humanity's sense of morality seemed lost after the World War in 1919. Simultaneously, the anarchy of the world, things disintegrating from the turning center and blood-dimmed tide are images related to occult. It may be metaphysical meaning of war. The last two lines of the poem sound much naturalistic and They are climax of the poem, and we have to dwell upon them for the meaning of the poem. The lion with head of the man is a rather interesting image in this poem. The lion has the predatory power with royal strength and authority, and the head meaning the intellect. Beneath the swirling desert, birds in the sky is a shape with lion body and the head of man with a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun. Turning and turning in the winding jar. It means each circle equals 200 years of history. Each new jar circle brings about chaos and destruction of the old. In 1921, Yeats thought that world is on the brink of the end. Okay. The falcon cannot hear the falconer. You know, falcon stands for soul, and falconer is great soul. Falcon is also a bird, and falconer is the owner of the bird. Okay, but the falcon is used as a symbol of the soul, and falconer is used as a symbol of God. Now we shall discuss the language and supernatural elements which are used in the poem, The Second Coming. Yeats in his poem, The Second Coming, brought out his belief into conception of the universe. Some of his phrases and words flow from the personal doctrine, and some from his sense of the world about him. The ceremony of innocence makes his phrase attractive because in the materialistic world people have lost faith. The phrase falcon and falconer makes the poem supernatural in the sense that God will take rebirth in the shape of beast. Birds will be indignant, and all it will take place in some desert. Okay. Metaphors. Yeats was an accomplished Irish poet and was known for the socio-religious ideas he emphasized in his poetry. In The Second Coming, his ideas unfold in three significant metaphors. The first metaphor relates a falcon and falconer to the destruction of the society, and the second metaphor conveys Yeats' idea that anarchy has taken over. The metaphor begins with the blood being tide is loosed, and the third metaphor brings out its religious idea of the second coming of Christ. Now we shall discuss the intensity of the poem. The intensity of the poem called The Second Coming depends primarily upon our familiarity with the idea like the second coming, a rocking cradle, Bethlehem, etc. In order to express his vision of absent things, poet lays hold of the only available public language and adopts it in a number of bold paradoxes. we shall discuss the conclusion. Finally, to conclude, we can say in the poem The Second Coming, the speakers ask a rhetorical question with which really amounts to a prophecy that God will take birth in the shape of beast, and next God will have some figure of lion's body and man's head wearing a beard. Poet also imagines that the place of God birth will be Bethlehem. This is the prophecy made by W. Yeats, that the birthplace of God will be Bethlehem. Okay. In this way, the critical appreciation of this poem is finished. Okay, thank you.